we go.
And we are off and running for episode 33 of Cover Your Balls. Thank you for joining us once again today. And as always, welcome inside the ball pit. I'm today's host, Mitch Balla, alongside my other two wonderful and handsome hosts.
Oh, Jordan McKelley.
Samuel Summers.
Hey, Sam. What's going on? What's going on out there?
Back there he is.
Welcome back to the ball pit, my friend. Actually, he's not technically in the ball pit. He's actually outside the ball pit.
That is true.
Yeah.
It's very true. He's outside the ball pit, but everybody listening to us right now, whether it's on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts, they are in the ball pit surrounded by all the balls. And while they're surrounded by all the balls, we're going to cover all the balls for them today. But Jordan, before we get into the basketballs and the footballs and maybe some baseballs and maybe we're going to throw a curveball and give them some bowling balls today. We don't know, and they don't know either. But before we do that, it's time for our top four for today. And it is National Women's Month, excuse me. So Jordan, our top four today is your top four women.
That's fantastic. No graphic today, Mitch. Thought we'd go old school. Thought we'd just put on our work boots. No graphics today. So thought we'd go things a little simpler. Who wants to start this one off? Who's your top four women?
Oh, you or Sam are starting this one off. I always have to hear you guys first. So
all right, Sam, top four woman.
All right. Yeah. Well, you know what? We're celebrating International Women's Month here on the ball pit on Cover Your Balls. March 8th, it was International Women's Day. So make sure you go tell the woman in your life that you love her and that she's a strong, independent thinker. Coming in at number 4, I have Mary Poppins. Who does it better than Mary Poppins? Big bag, floating umbrella, just a spoonful of sugar helps the medicine go down as the Kent State Flashes go down to the Ohio Bobcats. That's a tough one to swallow. But coming in at number 3 comes my mom, a fellow Kent State Flash, Kelly Summers. Shout out to my mother. Birthday coming up in October. So you don't have anything, until then, folks. Don't worry. Number 2, I have the former Mrs. Potato Head, now just Potato Head. I guess she was a top woman in history, but now I don't know. Just a Potato Head. So she might have to be removed off. And then coming at number 1, I have Catherine the Great. She's great. Catherine the Great. How could you dispute it? She has great in her name. So that rounds off my top 4.
She's pretty fantastic. That was actually a pretty solid list.
Pretty great.
Yeah, actually stunned how solid that was. I'm going to keep mine simple, guys. At number 4, I have Pat Summitt. Huge Lady Vols fan. Watched a lot of college basketball, women's college basketball growing up, a lot more than I do nowadays. But she's at number 4. At number 3, Mom, I love you so much. Your birthday's on St. Patrick's Day next week. Happy birthday, Mom. Happy early birthday, Patty. Happy early birthday. At number 2, I have D. Love of my life. Live together. She's beautiful. She's at number 2. But she's not better than who's at number 1. And that's Danica Patrick. Guys, I told you guys weeks ago that Danica Patrick was, and if not is, the best woman, most fearless woman on the planet. My thoughts haven't changed in the last few weeks. Danica Patrick, if you're out there, holla at your boy.
Respect. Those are both phenomenal lists. I'm glad that none of us had the same 4 women. Just shows you how versatile the women in the world are. And it doesn't matter if they're fictional or real. It doesn't matter. But I'll give you guys my list right now. And coming in at number 4 is Trixie from the Fairly Odd Parents, man. That was one of my first crushes. And she was just a great character in the Fairly Odd Parents. Guys, at number 3 is Condoleezza Rice. I mean, she was once considered as to fill the head coaching vacancy for the Cleveland Browns. Actually,
true.
Justin, good friend of the show, listener of the show on the ball pit, actually tried to fire the head coach of the Colts in Madden and name the head coach Condoleezza Rice. Madden doesn't allow women coaches. They need to get on that, fix that right now, because that's just a travesty that they don't allow that type of change. So Condoleezza Rice is at number 3. Number 2 for me, guys, Kim Possible. What a bad woman she is. She goes around with a naked mole rat in her pocket, and she'll stop any bad thing from happening in the world. And that's why Kim Possible is number 2 on my list. And coming in at number 1, the only woman that has my heart, and that is my mother. Mom, since we're, giving out birthdays here, your birthday's the farthest away, December 31st. And I'm not going to say your age, but you don't look a day past 40. And, I mean that. And Jordan, woman of the house, cooks, cleans, just top woman in my books.
Yeah. Leader of the house. I mean, I know her. She's a leader. Let me tell you what.
That's right. She wears the pants in that house.
Ooh. Ooh.
That's right, Mike.
Hope Uncle Mike's not watching right now. Uncle Mike, if you're watching, I'm sorry.
That's my big rival.
That's your that is your rival.
They're huge rivals. For those that don't know, Sam and my dad every year in fantasy football, it's usually classic matchups. And Sam always somehow has seemed to get the better of my dad until the playoffs comes around. Isn't that right, Sam?
That's right. That's right.
There's Brett coming in saying Kim Possible is thick. Also a fact.
It's a fact. I mean, look, I didn't just like her. She was a badass and taking down evil. She looked good while doing it. She's a double bonus right there. Why she's number 2 on the list.
No Danny Phantom.
No, Danny Phantom. I mean, we're talking International Men's Month. Man, Danny Phantom's.
There will never be an International Men's Month, and there should not be.
Kim Possible is 15 years old for those viewers out there. You better watch yourself.
Oh my! Hold on. She has an age. Oh, of course she has an age. I guess she's a fictional character. Brett,
well, let's be honest. When I watched Kim Possible at a young age, I was probably only 10. So it's okay, right? At that point, like she's actually older than me. She needs to be asking me if it's appropriate for her to be in my list, which It is, Kim. You don't have to ask twice. So we're going to disregard Sam's last comment about her age. And, I did not know about that before making this list. Guys, what we do know is the NBA is back. The second half of the season is getting ready to start. So let's start there with the first balls we're going to cover today. And before we get into the big time news and some sad news that has come across the league, both as Cleveland Cavalier fans and then just as NBA fans as a whole when it comes to inappropriate words being thrown around. Jordan, let's start in Brooklyn. All right. You and I both said in our NBA preview show, we weren't the highest on them. We didn't think they'd win the finals. And all of a sudden, your tone and mine, maybe mentally, I haven't said it verbally on the show, has changed quite a bit. The Nets are only a half game removed from first place in the Eastern Conference behind the Sixers, and they look good. Kevin Durant's barely played, and they just added Blake Griffin. Rumors are they're going to add somebody else, and we'll get into that here shortly. But Jordan, the bigger question, and the question posed on the thumbnail today, is Kevin Durant's injury more serious than we thought? And if it is, Jordan, what does that mean for the Brooklyn Nets?
Whew. I mean, it means everything. Because that's the only star on the Brooklyn Nets that I personally trust. James Harden, I mean, he's one of the best scorers this league's ever seen. No one would doubt that. We don't question his ability to put the ball in the hoop. We never have, frankly. What we've questioned is his ability to be clutch in the postseason. We haven't seen him put numbers together that are even comparable for a guy who's an average player in the playoffs. I mean, a lot of his nights end 2 for 11, 4 for 15. I'm not going to list all the shooting numbers like Nick Wright did on First Things First this week for James Harden clutch moments, but he's not very clutch. And the other guy on the other side of that, Kyrie Irving, if his mom throws a slumber party the night of a finals game, he might pick that instead of the finals. If Kevin Durant's not there to hold down the fort and keep his little brother in line. Kevin Durant is everything. He is the captain. He is the conductor. He is the adult in the room. One guy just forced his way off a team. The other guy was just off a suspension because he was at his sister's birthday party. Get out of here, bro. Like, get out of here. They're in a position right now that, and this was the good thing about picking up James Harden. And this was the great acquisition of James Harden, is that you can have a superstar down, and with 2 of 3 of those, you're almost, in a sense, kind of better off. I think you're better off if you have Kevin Durant in one or the other versus obviously what we have now. Definitely something to worry about. If Kevin Durant's back, they're still my favorite. By the way, Blake Griffin does not make them better. I don't like that acquisition at all. I'm sure we'll get into that. I've never liked Blake Griffin as a basketball player. He's sloppy. On one of the roasts, actually, I won't even get into that, but, Brooklyn is only going to go as far as Kevin Durant takes them. And, I said a couple weeks ago, if Kevin Durant won a championship, Sam and Mitch, that I would consider him in the same light as maybe LeBron. But then he goes out and gets Blake Griffin and Andre Drummond. And I know you guys will get into that, so I'll let you guys hammer that. But Brooklyn is only going to go as far as Kevin Durant. And that's it.
Sam, the same question posed to you. We'll refrain from all the Blake Griffin slander Jordan just threw, because I know you're a huge Blake Griffin fan. So we'll wait on that.
God, he's hot garbage.
I was biting my tongue. The Nets got Andre Drummond?
No. There's a rumor. We'll get into that here shortly. But Sam, what's your take? If Kevin Durant, if this injury is more serious than what the team is letting out or what people seem to believe, are the Nets still NBA title contenders or favorites?
I would say that the Nets would still be Eastern Conference favorites. The 76ers are frauds.
God.
Mitch has been saying. I don't believe it, but that's out of the words of Mitch Balla. If the 76ers are frauds, then who's making out of the East? It's got to be the Nets. They still have Kyrie and James Harden. James Harden and Chris Paul were what? One game away. They should have made the finals and played LeBron James and the Cavaliers. Would have been 2017, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 2017. They should have made it. I don't think Blake Griffin is completely washed up. I think he's still got some in the tank left. We'll see, especially with a good team like Brooklyn. I'm happy to see Blake Griffin back in the playoffs. I think that the Nets, if Kevin Durant's out for the year, which I don't think he is, I think he'll be back. If anything, send him until the playoffs. You don't need him until then. I think they'll be just okay, but if Durant's out, they won't win, but they still might make the finals.
Wow. We'll address that in a minute. Go ahead, Mitch. I'm sure I'm going to disagree with something you have to say, too. So,
well, my whole thing is, Jordan, that when these three were on the court at the same time, they did struggle. I mean, hell, they lost to the Cavs.
They just started playing the game.
Right. And they still haven't really meshed well with all three of them on the court at the same time. Before Kevin Durant got hurt, it was either Kyrie Irving got his feelings hurt from a walking stick. James Harden wanted to go to a strip club maybe that we didn't know about in Brooklyn already. Listen, shout out to James. Let you do you, bro. You go throw your money on women.
Well, no, there's buffets at the strip club. He's going there for the buffet. Did you not know that the strip clubs he goes to, each of them have a golden corral? And we all know James Harden, huge golden corral guy.
Well, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah.
I won't hold that against him then. But either way, they have been playing very well without Kevin Durant. And I'm not going to sit here and act like the people that think the Browns are better off without Odell Beckham. Because the Nets, like Jordan said, are better off with Kevin Durant and one of the two players playing right now. When he comes back, if he is fully healthy, they're going to look a little rusty again, trying to figure it out with all three of them, I believe. Now, you add in the fact that Kevin Durant's going to come back and have a new teammate in Blake Griffin and potentially somebody else, because whether the Nets are serious in adding Andre Drummond or not, they are actively looking for another big man. They've been rumored to get JaVale McGee as well. I still think the Nets are Eastern Conference favorites, even without one of the big three, even if that is without Durant. Now, are they title favorites without Durant? No. They need Kevin Durant if they're going to compete for the NBA championship. They're not going to win the NBA finals with Kyrie and James Harden. Jordan, you're absolutely right. The Nets are a more dangerous team if only two people of the three are playing, if it's Kevin Durant and Kyrie or Kevin Durant and James Harden. It's as simple as that. Because Kevin Durant does things that those two guys can't do, and he's also long, hard to defend, and is a longer body that would make life difficult for opposing players. Now, we know he's not the greatest defender. But we also know Kyrie Irving and James Harden aren't the greatest defenders either. Kevin
Durant is an excellent defender.
When he wants to be.
I mean, I would say he's a much better defender than LeBron, and people don't ever I never hear people knock on LeBron's defense that hard. I think Kevin Durant's an excellent defender.
I respectfully disagree, but it's all when he wants to be. That's the only thing. He likes to turn it on and off. I don't know how serious this injury is. I'm not a doctor. The best I can do is go on WebMD and tell you that your cough means that you're going to die in 2 days. Okay, that's all I can tell you. I still think that the Nets, with the moves they made, are Eastern Conference favorites. But if Durant is not healthy, they will not win the NBA Finals, and they might not get out of the East without Durant.
Yes. And that's what I wanted to address Sam on. Sam, there's no way that they get to the Eastern Conference Finals without Kevin Durant. I mean, they don't have the DNA. There's no way. You have to play defense, and they're not going to have their best defender. And I will say this, Mitch, with your point, you are right in a sense of, as Kevin Durant's evolved as a basketball player, he's been in a situation where he's been with other people who could also defend on Golden State. So it makes your job as a defender much easier when you know you can count on the guy to your left side and right side, because they're going to communicate with you and no one's going to be left naked on the floor. That's not going to be – it's going to be much different in Brooklyn. And so you are right about that, and I am curious to see if Steve Nash is able to get them to communicate effectively so they can actually play half the game, which is defense.
You guys think Steve Nash is a good coach, or he just has a really good team?
I think he has a really good team. I don't think that we can come out here and say he's a very good coach with this as his first head coaching gig, if that makes sense.
I mean, I guess both could be true. That was right. But, if Steve Nash went to the Cavaliers or he went to the Hornets with they have talent around them. I think they're a very promising team. If he went to a team like that, you think he'd be a good coach? I'd like to see that. I don't know. I guess we can't even, it's all just speculation until something like that happens. But I think Steve Nash, he might have it. Jason Kidd didn't. Jason Kidd wasn't that great of a head coach. But Steve Nash might be a person who is a good coach in the future. Just want to throw that out there.
Yeah, I think it's too early to find out. In basketball, I feel like it's terribly difficult to figure out if a coach is really making an impact and not. You got to remember, a lot of basketball players, it's a lot different type of athlete than a football player or a baseball player or really any athlete. At that level, there's a lot of diva. I mean, I don't blame them. I mean, the spotlight's always on you. Your face is on cereal boxes. You know what I mean? Like, of course I'm going to think I'm the shit, walking around town. And that's, just pushed the button on my chair there. Went all the way down. Man, that just took me completely off my thought. I need to get a chair with no. Right, I know. I need to get a chair with no button.
Looks like you have no armrest on your chair.
I don't. I have a Walmart chair. It's like an $8.50 chair. It's not. Well, it's not a stool. It's not great. It's not great, Sam. But we'll figure out what Steve Nash is for real pretty soon. It's hard to have an impact like somebody like Tom Thibodeau, you know what I mean? Yes. Like it's an obvious impact. And there's not many coaches like that. Like there's not many Jerry Sloans and coaches like that anymore that really are leader of men and can get people who have a lot of different personalities in the locker room who are divas to really buy in. You're making so much money, $20 million as an 18, 19, 20-year-old. You're going to make a lot of mistakes, and yeah, it's probably why Greg Popovich has had so much success, but I think it's another reason, Sam, why it's so hard to identify if Steve Nash is doing a good job. Also, because all these guys are veterans. I feel like he has a much harder job. I'd rather have the Cavs job than the Brooklyn Nets job. As soon as Kyrie came out and said what he said, that they didn't need a coach, if I was Steve Nash, I would have resigned. I would have said, not fucking today. I'm not staying in this. Are you serious? Why would I stay here for this? Like, if that's the intro to this album, get me the fuck out of here. Like, I don't want to stay for this. Like, and that's another thing why that could be another reason why my Brooklyn pick, guys, could be so outrageous to change from LA to Brooklyn, because there is this like not Jack in the Box. What is that? The box that you're not supposed to open. Pandora's box. Like Kyrie Irving is exactly Pandora's box. Like, you never know what you're going to get. Like, it's kind of like the movie. It's kind of like the movie Split. Like, I don't know what Kyrie Irving am I getting. Am I getting like beach vibe Kyrie Irving? Am I getting like social justice Kyrie Irving? Like, am I getting basketball Kyrie Irving? Am I getting dancing Kyrie Irving? Like, I don't know which one I'm gonna get.
Stick Kyrie Irving.
Exactly. he's putting spices and stuff on the court. I don't have. Anytime you're taking anything out of your spice rack to light on fire and put around your basketball court, something up
He's
top.
A character.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is
Jordan. You're exactly right. If you, Mitch, just for 1 second, but with your leader of men comment, because that's exactly what Tom Thibodeau is. I was going to bring that up. He's a leader of men, and that's why Brad Stevens, someone who's a really good basketball mind, but you look at Boston, and it's just like, what's missing with this team? Like, what's missing? I'm not saying Brad Stevens isn't a good coach, and I'm not saying he isn't a leader, but he's not a leader of men. He's just not that guy.
He's your
that when
accountant.
you walk into the room, right? He's like Greg Popovich, like he's a leader of men. He's the alpha dog. But that's why what's missing in Boston is just like he's not that transcendent leader. He's not that transcendent coach that everyone thought he was going to automatically be. He's a great coach, but he's not the coach.
Yeah, you know what, guys, here's a question. What does it take as a player, if you're an NBA player, so you're in an NBA player's shoes, what does it take for you to see, like, what do you want from a coach? Like, what do you need from a coach in order for you to respect them and for you to play hard for them?
I mean, it's a lot of charisma and it's a lot of wisdom. If I'm looking for my ideal coach, it's just a strong leader, someone who has good humor, just a very understanding person, and then somebody who's a great mind of the sport. Somebody like a Popovich or somebody like a Phil Jackson, who's got a little, a different approach. I guess those are the two all-time greats, but it's all about the personality. It's all about the person.
For sure.
Yeah. It's all about who gauges the interest of the players, who can command the locker room. We hear it so often when it comes to coaches in the NBA, they get fired. They lost the locker room. All right. Obviously, Greg Popovich, in my opinion, of today, is the standard. That man hasn't lost the locker room in 20 some years. That man hasn't lost the locker room so much that he's coaching or helping out Team USA. Like, I mean, the dude commands so much respect. And yes, I understand he's a proven track record, but Sam, I'm glad you brought it up. And Jordan, I'm glad you brought it up too. Tom Thibodeau, listen, the New York Knicks may not be one in the East, but they are definitely a team none of us predicted to be in the playoffs, let alone be the 5 seed in the East right now. Now, he probably won't get coach of the year. I firmly believe he should. But when we go back to the whole Steve Nash argument, let's remember Mike Brown was coach of the year. Mike Brown a good coach, guys?
No.
It was.
Exactly. He was carried by LeBron James, Delonte West, Wally Zerbiak, Sasha Pavlovich, and that whole crew of, old basketball players. Yeah. I'm not saying Steve Nash is Mike Brown. I'm saying it's way too early to tell. But Steve Nash has walked into one of the best case scenarios when it comes to talent. Now, Jordan.
Oh yeah.
You're right. He's going to have to deal with all the personalities and what is Kyrie Irving and even Kevin Durant. I mean, a man who's had multiple burner accounts before, and then James Harden, who just, if he doesn't like it, he quits.
But should you have to do that? You know what I mean? Like, at what point do you just have to be an adult? Like, right? Like, at what point?
Talking about players, NBA players?
Yeah. Like,
oh, I agree. But we've had this conversation on other shows when we're talking about other sports. This is the one league where players run the league. I mean, look, LeBron James gets coaches fired left and right. Now, I understand it's LeBron James, but it's not like that in other sports unless a coach comes out and does something that warrants a firing, not just pulling a pitcher early or calling an offensive play. Like LeBron James has strictly come back to Cleveland and said, David Blatt, we went to the finals last year. We're off to a great start. Fuck it. Don't like you.
Yeah, well, that reflects. That's why the NBA is losing money, because it's not
right.
See, the players, this is what they're good at. Are you ready for this? Playing the game. That's why they're there, to play the game. The owners are there because they figured out a way to get there. Do you know that it's probably a lot harder to get to where the owners are than where some of the players are? You have to be not just lucky, but you have to be really smart, okay? It's not good for business when you have players running a league, because they don't, like, their choices aren't being vetted. They're making choices on the fly. The shotgun approach. Whenever I want to say something, I say it. I don't run it by anybody. Hey, guess what? Not a good thing to do. Not a good thing to do. Ever.
Not at all.
No, and it's hurting the league. The ratings just keep dropping.
Yeah.
And I thought it was because of the fans, but I heard somebody talk about college basketball ratings being a little higher than projected as opposed to the NBA rankings and I like ratings. And I'm thinking it's more because of the politics of it, not the fans. I thought it was the fans all along, but I'm thinking it's the politics of it. And I didn't think that at first. I was one of those people where I thought it would, like, LeBron talking more would actually encourage people to be more, like, want to be included and come into the NBA community. That hasn't done that at all. It is like just made people not want to step into it or just not watch it at all. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
I do. And Sam, I'll go. I think that you're 100% right. I think the ratings have dropped because of the politics that have gone into the NBA and the stand the players are taking. And I'm not saying that's wrong. Listen, the players have a platform to use, and I'm all for them using it. But what people need to understand is I think we forget that us regular people, maybe not us three, but a lot of people out there use sports as an escape. Okay. A lot of people out there use sports as a way to escape their daily problems and everything else going on in the world, whether it is politic related or family related or health related. They use sports as that escape. So I think a lot of ratings have dropped this year because those people that go there to get away from, let's just say, I mean, we just got out of a year of an election. You know what I mean? That takes a toll on a lot of people. And hell, this past election has probably ruined a lot of relationships with a lot of people. As wrong as that is, because we're allowed to have different beliefs, but all those people that would go to watch NBA or any sporting event to get away from that, all of a sudden couldn't, because when they were in the bubble, they were taking their social justice stands. And I'm all for the players using their platform. I'm just coming out and saying why I think the ratings are down, Jordan. I think you're right. I think it has more to do with people are tired of seeing players use their platform and less to do with there was no fans in the league. And I don't agree with that. I'm still out here watching basketball games. Sam, I don't know how you feel about that.
Yeah, Mitch, I love your point. I'll bring up this point first. And I think a lot of it is just like the heart. You know, when you're on a college team, you only have, you have a set number of years you can play for this team. Some people do it for one, some people do it all 4 years. You really, really want to win with these group of guys. Like, you get a lot closer than you do when you get in the NBA, because these guys are professionals. Some of them are 20. Some of them are 36. They're all at different stages in life. And they have millions and millions and millions of dollars. And that's got to be really, really weird for your psyche. I'm not sure what that does to people, but I'm sure it's really, really, really strange. I mean, I can't imagine. But number two, Mitch, is people. You're right. People do escape. And I read this really good article. It's written by Barry Weiss, I believe. Barry Weiss. I'm not sure which, but he or she, I'm not too sure either. They left the New York Times as a journalist, and they wrote this article called "The Self-Silencing Majority." I highly encourage our listeners to go give it a read. It's written about people who are red, blue, doesn't matter, but it's just a lot of people in America are afraid to have any beliefs or say anything at all because they're afraid to get publicly shamed on Twitter, etc., etc. And it just goes really far into the American mind, and that's why I loved it so much. And I think that's why people are afraid to get involved into political things. Maybe it's not the NBA, but when things, businesses, whatever, have that atmosphere, people are more likely to stray away or just not get involved at all.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I think it's extremely well said. Great. It sounds like a great article, and that was well put, Sam. I completely agree.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of staying on this topic, but also transitioning at the same time. Another reason that ratings are down, Jordan, is because, players do have these platforms to say what they want. And sometimes players make mistakes. And
do they?
Apparently, yes. Hard to believe, because a lot of them don't think they do. Even when it comes to fouls, a lot of these guys, what, me? What?
I mean, I don't think I make mistakes either. Ask anybody I know.
You're perfect. You're still pitching a perfect game.
I am still. I'm Len Barker. I am the modern day Lenny Barker.
Stop it. The fact that you just said that name is absolutely disgraceful to the show.
Len Bias.
No, it's Lenny Barker.
No, we're not. That name's not.
It's a different Len. All right, Len.
Did I just name the wrong Lenny?
No. It was a joke. I did. Len Bias is.
That's the Maryland guy. Yeah, that's the Maryland guy. Yeah, he was He was supposed to be the next MJ.
Brandon Ranke in the comments just said he's logging off after that comment about Len Barker. If you don't know, you soon will off there. But guys, I guess you could push away an entire culture or religion when you have someone like Myers Leonard, who this past week, it's the NBA All-Star break. Game just happened. These players are still off. The second half resumes tonight. We're going to touch on that here right after this. But Myers Leonard was streaming Call of Duty or some video game. I thought it was Call of Duty, and let out an anti-Semitic slur. And one, it looks like he didn't even realize he said it. And then the whole fallout of, I need to get better. And the man has been publicly shamed for what he said because it's not right. But then two, put through the ringer for his poor apology, which I'll get into that here shortly. But Jordan, Myers Leonard has now been fined $50,000 by the Heat. He is on a week leave by the Miami Heat. What is your take on yet another player slipping up and now being called out for it?
Let's see if this can work. Fuck. Wow, this toothpaste back. It's really hard to put this toothpaste back in the container. That's what it's like, Myles Leonard. After you say words, you can't take them back. You can't put them back in. Do you understand? I hope you're watching this right now. You can't. It's impossible. Thank you. I needed people to understand that once you speak, you don't get those words back. So it's really important that you think before you speak. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me at all that Myles Leonard. Man, this really sucks. I don't have a sink in this room. Anywho, this is why.
I bet you wish now you wouldn't have done that, Jordan.
Yes, and that's yes. I wish that's the point. That was this. It doesn't bother me at all that he was playing Twitch. He's been hurt. That doesn't bother me. It kind of bothers me that he got fined. That's kind of ridiculous. Like what he said was totally wrong. Totally get it, but where in his contract violation do you get fined for that? You know what I mean? Like, it has nothing to do with your job. You may be dumb, along with a lot of other names that we could call you, but I don't understand how he got fined. I was really confused by that. Kind of low key, real mad.
Jordan, I agree that there's nowhere in the part of me wonders if it is, and as crazy as it sounds, we know a lot of crazy things that go on. Part of me wonders if it is because the Miami Heat owner is Jewish. That's the only reason. That's the only thing the only possible explanation to try to, fight what you're saying. Because I'm 100% with you. I'm just saying, that's the only thing that's coming to my head.
That's just the culture we live in. Like, if you mess up, right? You mess up, well, you got to pay for it. We live in cancel culture. You mess up, you got to pay.
We do, and I'm cool with let's educate him. I get that, but
right.
The damage to this extent is done. Let's not ruin this guy's life. If I hear one more person try to tell me that the word he uses is like the other slur that is used around America, it's completely different.
That's just ridiculous.
It's bad. It's I'm not weighing sins here, right? Of things that you say to people, that's not fair. But let's not ruin someone's life over something they said. And let's stop putting things in a bubble. Yeah, we just look at things so closely. It was so dumb. What he said was dumb. But that's it. Move on. I'm so glad that Julian Edelman reached out. He's like, "Do you want?" That was unbelievable. Right, that's what you do. Somebody messes up, you pick them up. You don't, there's some things that you do. You get exiled, right? And I agree with that. But there's a lot of things that happen. This goes back to what I was talking about 5 minutes ago. But there's just a lot of things that happen. You don't continue to push somebody down. You pick them back up. Then if they do it again, then whatever, right? They didn't learn from their mistakes. Let them lay there. But somebody messes up one time, they're a good person. We got to stop just killing people over this. Yeah, I mean, still accountable for sure. We still need to hold them accountable, but we need to find there needs to be a different line. I feel like we're incredibly as a society, we react so quickly to things. Someone could be halfway through a sentence, say something bad in the beginning, and you could walk away from a screen and not even know that by the time that they got to the end of the sentence, that what they promoted in the beginning of the sentence, they weren't actually promoting at all. It was just a long way around that point to get to where they wanted to go. Like, you need to listen to everything people have to say and then take a minute, digest it, and really figure out like what the context of it is. And we never do that. For instance, I did that with the Burger King thing. I had no idea. By the way, I thought it was hilarious, though. I wasn't knocking Burger King. When that first came out about Burger King, I never knew about the women's scholarships at all. Had no idea. I just thought Burger King was just like, hey, you know what we're going to do today? Let's insult 3.8 billion people. Like, let's get half of...
On their day.
99% of people already don't come to our stores as a company. Let's ensure that no woman ever walks or comes through our drive-thru again. Yeah. So, I mean, it can happen without full context. So sometimes I think we need to take a second because this is where we ends up at. But, you know, we wouldn't have this if you're not saying racial slurs on video games. So I guess it's kind of your bad, Myers Leonard. Probably not playing again in this NBA. You got to be a lot better than he is to say racial slurs. You have to be like James Harden good to say racial slurs. You can't be like middle of the pack. If you're gonna like,
that's not like a racial slur though.
Well, no, that's my point though. Like if it was James Harden, it wouldn't be a big deal. Right. I don't think it would be. Like if it was somebody bigger, but Myers Leonard's play isn't going to outweigh it. Like he's not worth the controversy. Like, I'm not keeping him on my team because he's not worth it. It's like it's like Kaepernick. Like, was he out there doing domestic violence and stuff? No, not at all. And he didn't even get a shot on a team. But we're bringing in all these other guys to play, like Alden Smith and stuff. Like, people don't like distractions. Myers Leonard's a distraction. He's not good. His play isn't good enough to overcome a distraction, and he's hurt. So he's done. I think he's done.
No, we'll see. We'll see if he comes back after this week suspension. But I'll just put it this way: he messed up. Okay, he messed up big time. That's all there is to it. But my issue stems more with how the media treats it and covers it. All right, you mean to tell me everybody that has been slamming him has never made a mistake or never said anything they regret? Jordan, I sure as hell regret some things I've said in my lifetime. Oh, I don't know about you, Sam. I don't know about you. Have you guys ever, said something that, eventually you're like, I shouldn't have said that, whether it's in the heat of an argument or whether it is an inappropriate thing you said. All right. I'm not going to sit here and tell you I'm perfect. Jordan's still pitching a perfect game over there, and that's okay. Me, on the other hand, no, I lost the no-hitter in the second inning. All right. But for Stephen A. Smith and Shannon Sharp and all these big media personalities just sit out here and act like they're so damn perfect. They aren't. Okay. They've all had their off the field issues. They've all said their fair share of choice words before. Okay. And listen, I'm not sitting here defending Myers Leonard. I'm not, because he messed up and he said something he shouldn't have. But let's all talk and all stop acting like we're perfect. That's all it is. Okay. We've all said stuff we regret. We've all done things we regret. All right. It's as simple as that. My issue more stems with, and Jordan, we talked about this earlier, and this is me guessing what I'm going to say here. Me and some buddies, some that may be out there in the ball pit right now, had a very great conversation yesterday. We can have very good, constructive conversations yesterday, no matter which end you believe in of the certain topic. But my whole issue with everybody slamming Myers Leonard for his apology is he didn't write that apology. And I think that's wrong because agencies have these templates, PR firms have these templates that put out apologies for a player right away. Because who's to say that Myers Leonard said what he said, and by the time his agency called him, wanted to apologize, they said, no, you can't. You got to put this out. And now he's getting trashed all over for it. And this is like me guessing, but I know damn well, and if anybody out there knows anything about PR and press releases and anything, he didn't say that apology. That was just a template. And the poor guy's getting scrutinized more and more for it. And I don't want to say I feel bad for him because, look, you fucked up. All right. So you deserve some of the things that come to you. But I just think it's the way media is attacking him is a little unfair because they're acting like they're these perfect individuals that have never done anything wrong in their lives. And they have. Trust me, we can look up anything that Stephen A. Smith's done, anything that Shannon Sharp's done, anything that Skip Bayless has done. And guess what? They've all fucked up before.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, Mitch, you're exactly right. we live in this like virtual society where you have your like social image, your social media image, and you try to make that your perfect brand, because that's what it is. Like your social media is a brand, so you want your brand to be the best. So people get entrapped in that, and then it's just like, oh, I can't do any wrong, and we're all living, we're living in the clouds. We got to come down to reality and just be accepting of, humanity. Humanity is filled with mistakes. So I've studied a lot of history. Spend one day studying history, and you'll realize just how ugly humanity is. Humans suck. Humans suck. I just don't get why people, want to think they're perfect and create a perfect image of themselves when it's just a total fabricated lie.
Man, you guys made me sound like a real asshole. First of all, I'm sure I have said like a lot of things that I should not have said in my lifetime. But he was playing. He did this on a video game with like thousands of people watching him. Okay, so let's not act like he was just in his family room, like with his wife playing with the dog, right? Like,
yeah, no, you're right.
Like you have to have like some awareness, like of like the situation and stuff, and maybe it's really good that this happened for him. Maybe it's good. Because a lot of good things can come out of dumb things that people say. The Julian Edelman thing, Sam, you brought this up. That was one of the coolest things that I've ever read. Because it was it was somebody who said, hey, I completely disagree with what you said. You just literally disrespected everything I believe in. But it's okay, because I've disrespected other things other people have believed in before too. And like, let's bridge this. Let's get you educated on it. But the problem with that is, like, I was Googling what the word meant for like 20 or 30 minutes. I still haven't found like the definition online. So like, it's almost like Google doesn't even want you to understand and want you to be educated on it, because I still haven't found the definition.
Right. It's just the, word that we give super derogatory meaning to it. He said he didn't know what it meant. I don't know if I buy it or not. I don't know what it means. I know what it means, and I think he said the same thing. He knew it was a poor word. I guess he didn't know the magnitude behind what he was about to say. He knew, like, he meant to say what he said. He didn't know the magnitude behind it, but he totally meant it.
Yeah, I think and for people out there that don't understand what you're saying, Sam, there's part of the issue, because those also could be the people that are out here bashing them. But what you said is correct. For me, the only reason I knew of the word is because of growing up with some people from the Jewish community. 2, where I went to school, and then 3, the rapper Lil Dicky literally uses it in multiple of his songs and the show Dave. So I've seen it from person to person, have a little bit of background of it, and then you have somebody that literally uses it in their songs for satire and funny meaning, and he can, because he's of that religion and of that descent. But it was a very bad look for Myers Leonard. A very bad look, tough scene. And ultimately, we're going to see what happens, Jordan. Like you said, there is double standards. If the player is good enough. If LeBron James said that, are we talking about it?
No.
Exactly.
No.
And that's an issue. All right. Maybe LeBron James would never say that. But the fact that we hold certain people of certain class or to a certain standard and not other people is wrong. Okay,
that's an entire good.
But that's an entire different conversation.
It's a problem, but it doesn't absolve. It's not like and this is a human thing, a big time human thing, where people will I could be doing something wrong, like at work, but I could be going to the boss, telling the boss everything you're doing wrong. I'm more worried about what you're doing wrong than what I'm doing wrong. And I feel like a lot of people think that way. So many more people are focused on what everybody else other than themselves, which is why we have these problems.
Yeah, it's a major crisis on our hands, definitely. I just don't even think people realize how big of a problem it is.
Or how much.
Yeah, how are your hands over there?
Yeah, very minty. Very minty. The entire room smells like mint. And my hands are pretty sticky.
Well,
right now.
Listen, that was a great conversation, and I'm sure we could talk
Just
about
like
it
balls.
forever because you know that's
All kinds.
Sam coming up with the pow out there. But guys, we'll stay in the NBA. We'll move off that topic. We'll bring it back up as soon as we find out what happens with Myers Leonard. Dude fucked up, but end of story. Let's all stop acting like we're perfect. Is all I'm trying to say. Jordan, staying in the NBA, second half of the season is starting now.
Mm-hmm.
What are your predictions? We'll keep it quick. Cavs, open up in New Orleans, but they're probably not the most important storyline of the NBA season as we kick off the second half. What are you looking for? What's your biggest prediction for the second half?
Yeah, I think the thing that I'm most excited about in the second half of the NBA season are the teams that are basically on the cusp of maybe being in or being out. Because honest to God, in the Western Conference, some of the bubble teams out there could, I think, really pose a problem for the Lakers in the first series. And when I say be a problem, I mean maybe force you to 6 games, not necessarily beat the Lakers, but anything that can extend a series versus a LeBron James team early on in the playoffs, that's a huge advantage because LeBron typically gets out of the first and second round rather quickly. So if you can make him play a couple games early. So teams that are on the bubble, a team like Golden State, could Golden State maybe get one of those last 3 spots, and those last 3 spots are going to be all up. How do the Pelicans do in the second half of the season? Is Zion, can he get them to the playoffs for the first time? I'm really curious to see if Luka really becomes the Luka that we saw him in the playoffs last year. I'm more excited about the bubble teams than I am about the top teams. And I don't think my predictions are any different for the whole thing. I'm just excited to watch.
Yeah, me too, Jordan. NBA playoff basketball is just a different beast. You can say what you want all year long, but when the playoffs come around, the Lions come out to play, and LeBron James is that. He's the king of the jungle, and we'll see. As I'm looking at these standings, you got the Grizzlies at 9th. You got the Mavs, Spurs, Nuggets as 8, 7, 6. And the Lakers are the 3 seed right now. You'd play what? The Nuggets? That's a scary first round matchup. And we haven't had a huge when's the last time we had a big NBA playoff upset? I can't think of it. And the reason that is because we've had players like LeBron, KD, all these teams and individuals that transcend the game. And finally the game's catching up. We have a great era of NBA. Next decade or two is going to be great, and it's probably going to keep on getting better with the amazing athletes humanity's pumping out right now. But I'll tell you what, we're due for an upset. AD's a little banged up, so we'll see.
Yeah. Some good stuff. Sam. That's why we bring him on every week. That's why we need him for the ball pit. Guys, I'm looking at 2 things, one in each conference. One, where did the Miami Heat end up? Jordan, they're the 6th seed right now in the Eastern Conference as it stands, 18-18. They're healthy. They've already gotten through the little COVID scare. This is a team that was in the NBA Finals last year. Now, the book's still out. Were they a beneficiary of the bubble, or is this team legit? And that's what I'm waiting to see is if Miami, with the injuries over with now, for the most part, they had their couple guys out with COVID. Can they put it together, and can they get back to the team that I had as the second best team in the East? And then in the West, it's a tie between, is Phoenix legit? Are they going to stay in the 2 spot all year? And then do the Portland Trailblazers take off with CJ McCollum returning? That's what I'm looking for out West. Those are my 2 teams. We know the Lakers and Clippers and the Jazz are going to be there. I expect the Nuggets to be there. And listen, there's a lot of bubble teams at the bottom, like you guys said, but I won't steal your thunder and take. I want to see what the Suns do, and I want to see if the Blazers get better with the addition of CJ McCollum.
Porzingis is still out, correct? Is he out for the whole year?
I really don't know, but it wouldn't shock me if he is, because that man cannot stay healthy.
He can't. He's hurt. Let me look it up. Yeah, he's hurt all the time.
Yeah, I like him.
I think one thing that's going to be really interesting is if both LA teams finish how they if everything stays the same, and they finish as the 3rd and 4th seed. I mean, that could be really troublesome for both of those teams, because if you think of the matchups that, like, if it just stays where it is right now, Utah and the Clippers would be a tough series, and the Suns and the Lakers would be a really good series too. That'd be a great series. Honestly, I think the Lakers would benefit playing the Suns rather than some of those other teams, actually. So maybe not as much for the Lakers, because I think the Suns are a good matchup for the Lakers, but I don't think the Utah Jazz I don't think that's a good matchup for the Clippers at all. At all.
He'll be back, by the way.
Porzingis.
Yeah, there's some trade rumors, but he'll be back regardless.
And that's the other thing we're going to have to wait to see, Jordan, is a lot of us, Jazz look great, but are they the Atlanta Hawks from 2014, 2015? Are they the Toronto Raptors, that would always get the 1 seed in the East and they get swept by LeBron? Like, we don't know who this team is yet.
I think it's pretty safe to say that they're both. This team is way better than both those teams, though. Like, you just shit on the Utah Jazz big time. You can.
Are they?
Who's the best player? Best player in the Atlanta Hawks.
What have they proven yet? What have they proven?
Name me the best player on the Atlanta Hawks.
Right now?
No, when the Atlanta Hawks won the East. You got to remember how bad the East was when they won the East. Yeah, they didn't.
The East.
Oh my God, that's
when they led the East is what Jordan's saying. Best record. Jeff Teague was the best player. And look at this, Mitch. The Jazz had 3 All-Stars, and granted, so did the Hawks. The Hawks from the East, by the way. But they have Mike Conley. Mike Conley, a proven veteran. You look at where Jeff Teague is at now as a veteran. You look at where Mike Conley's at. Mike Conley's still an All-Star. And he is a veteran presence. Mike Conley's a very, 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 very good shooter, apparently. I didn't know Mike Conley was that good of a shooter, but he almost beat Steph Curry. Then you have Donovan Mitchell, who is a young, blossoming star. Again, from the Hawks, no stars. They had no stars at all. They had really good All-Stars at the time, maybe primed to the career. They had Horford, who you could argue was maybe a Walmart star.
And Paul Millsap.
They have Rudy Gobert, who's a consistent decoy. Yeah, they had Paul Millsap. And then the Jazz are also pretty deep. They got Bogdanovich, or they got something Bogdanovich. It could be Bohan. Yeah. I forget one of them.
No, they got Bogdanoviches in the league.
And then they have what's its face, Engel, who shoots 1,000,000 threes a game and they all go in. Joe Ingles. So I think this Jazz team, they're not the Hawks. Are they gonna fall flat on their face? Maybe, but like I said a few weeks ago, I think they're the 2003, 2004 Detroit Pistons.
Yeah, they're definitely better than what I don't know if they're quite as good as the Pistons. I think they're right in between both of what you guys said. They're not as bad as what Mitch says, and I don't think they're as good as what you said, Sam. I think they're somewhere in the middle. I will say this. They ended the All-Star break really poorly. Their last 3 out of 4 games they lost. All 3, I think they lost to the Pelicans, the Sixers, and I don't know. They lost 1 more game. They lost 3 out of 4. The only win they had out of those 4 games was against the Magic. So that's a little troublesome going into the All-Star break. But, I mean, I still think they're a formidable team. Not that they're going to beat the Lakers or the Clippers.
Yeah.
Actually, they could beat the Clippers. They really could beat the Clippers. I think they could.
Listen, I shit on the Clippers all the time. I'm not going to say they can, because I think the Clippers will beat them. I'm not saying
trust Paul George?
I'm not saying the Jazz are a bad team. I'm just saying they're not the best team in the Western Conference. They're not the second best team. They might not be the third team. This is a team that we already saw blow a 3-1 lead in the playoffs last year. Okay. And what else have they proven? Tell me what they've proven.
Well, the guy on the other team, I just said they blew a 3-1 lead too. So I mean, do you trust the Utah Jazz more than? I mean, the Utah Jazz lost in a 7-game series to one of the hottest teams in the playoffs. Right? The Nuggets were playing unbelievable basketball. So let's not act like they got beat in God, they probably beat any team from they played so well last year. Donovan Mitchell put up like 2 games where he had like 50 points against the Jazz. I'm pretty sure he lost both those games. Just saying. Pretty sure he lost both of them. We'll see. Well, I guess I'm excited to see how that plays out. I just don't trust Paul George. I trust Utah more than I trust Paul George. I can't not. I watched every single Clipper game in the playoffs last year, like full game. I can't unsee what I saw. I can't unsee that.
I don't trust Kawhi that much either. Paul George really blew it last year. Mm-hmm. I think he gets too much slack because, Kawhi also disappears in the fourth quarter. He was a freak. He is a freak. but he's not the best player in the league by any means, and it's not close.
No, it's not close. Listen, Jazz are a good team. I'm not ready to cement that they're the best team, second or third best team. They haven't proven anything to me yet, and that's where I'll stay until they prove me wrong. And once they prove me wrong, we'll pull the tape from episode 33, and we'll go back and throw it right behind my wonderful Cavs prediction I had, a few weeks ago. By the way, I hope the Cavs lose out every game the rest of the way. Cade Cunningham to Cleveland. And with that being said, let's get to this afternoon's half-hour headlines. A little late to it, but that's okay. I'll start out with a few headlines and throw it over to you, Sam. All right?
Sure.
All right. Well, gentlemen, let's start with this. A year ago today, the world changed forever. Jordan, what do you remember about a year ago today when the global pandemic struck?
I was getting a margarita at La Casuela's down the street when I found out. That's pretty upset about it.
I don't know. What the world changed 1 year ago?
It's when COVID hit. It's when the world shut down, sir. I don't know.
Man.
Where were you a year ago?
You know what I was doing? I was drinking a few Coronas, celebrating the cancellation of class. Little did I know it was going to lead
The
to
cancellation of life.
Effects.
I was at the queue getting ready to broadcast, and then they just said, "Nah, fuck you."
Oh, that's right. I saw that tweet
like,
went out that you put out there, and then that was sad.
That was here we are a year later. It's felt a lot longer than that. But anyway, boys, back to this. Jordan, a guy you and I were very high on at the beginning of the season. The Los Angeles Lakers are in the trade market for a big man after their experiment with Marc Gasol isn't as they hoped. Are you shocked by this?
I mean, Marc Gasol's he's in his 16th or 17th year or something in the NBA. I mean, what did you exactly think you were getting with Marc Gasol, other than a guy who was? I mean, he kind of reminds me of that cool dad at the park, doesn't he? Show that's when I think of Marc Gasol, I think of a cool dad, and I shouldn't think of that. I should think of him as an NBA basketball player first. So. It's a good thing that they're moving. Not necessarily. Well, they are moving off him because they're not going to play him much. I don't know what big man they're going to go get. I don't know if they need one.
Could it be Andre Drummond? We'll have to wait to see. At this point, I think he'll be bought out. But anyways, let's go down south to the state of Texas, where the Texas Rangers are just following their governor and saying, "We have big balls." The Rangers announced they will open up their stadium at 100% occupancy, which is 40,518 people at their home opener on April 5th. Jordan, good idea? Bad idea?
Missed the first part, Mitch, so you're going to say it again. I was too busy reading a comment in the comment section that said, I was working for a startup company. We were sitting in the office and they thought it was fake.
I said the Rangers have announced they will allow full occupancy at their stadium on the home opener of 40,518 people. Is that a good idea or a bad idea by the Texas Rangers?
That's a Texas idea right there. That is a Texas. That's a Texas idea.
Well said.
Sam, you going to the home opener if you're down there in Texas?
I definitely would, because guess what? I'm vaccinated, people, so I can do things like that. Go get the vaccine.
He is indeed vaccinated, guys. Back now. Got a couple NFL ones, but first we need to start with a very sensitive subject for Jordan McKelley. The Duke Blue Devils were bounced from the ACC tournament today because a walk-on tested positive for COVID. Jordan, two-part question. One, how heartbroken are you the Duke Blue Devils won't be in the tournament? Two, will that walk-on be allowed back on the team next year?
Yeah, there's just been so much. The Duke season needed to end. I've never followed a Duke basketball season where there was this many shenanigans happening in there. Typically there's not much that come out of Durham. They keep things pretty hush-hush. They go there to play basketball, and that's what they do. This season needed to end for so many reasons. And I think Coach K needs to be humbled a little bit. He's been a real asshole lately, all right? And I think Coach K needs some time away from basketball to kind of, play with his grandchildren, figure out what life's about. Because it's not about, yelling at guys who are on the student newspaper at your college. That's not the right move.
I completely agree. Sam, is that walk-on going to be allowed back on the team next year for Duke?
He will not be allowed back on the team. I wonder if he's on full scholarship. He may have that pulled. That's funny. I can't believe a walk-on did that.
Guys, a little bit of breaking news here. We know, well, in case you didn't know, if you're out there in the ball pit as we're recording this live, the Ohio State Buckeyes survived a little bit of a scare, winning their first game of the Big Ten tournament, second round, beating the Gophers by 4 points. But guys, as we're doing the show, former Baltimore Ravens running back Mark Ingram has reached an agreement to a 1-year deal, $3 million with the Houston Texans. Jordan, is Deshaun Watson going to want to stay in Houston now?
Well, most certainly. Big trust. Woo woo. No, he's not going to want to stay in Houston. Mark Ingram's just getting that money wherever he can get it. That's where the Texans saw value in Mark Ingram. And, man, if I'm Mark Ingram, I'm going to Houston too. Great state for so many different reasons. With the freedom you have down there, great weather. So,
It's going to the home opener.
yeah, work's not that hard when you get to train in that type of weather. You have those types of facilities. Great move by Mark Ingram.
Sam, Deshaun Watson going to stay now?
Yeah, I mean, another great move by Jack Easterby. He's came in there. He's taken hold. He's like, you know what? I'm going to save Houston Texans. And that's exactly what he's done.
Mm-hmm.
Signed a superstar running back along with David Johnson, who I believe is back for another season. So, Deshaun Watson, Mark Ingram.
Does he have any ACLs left?
Kiki Kuti. Who?
David Johnson.
I think
I
that
feel-
was his first ACL tear.
I
He
feel
was
like
just
he's
kind of-
gone through 3 or 4 of them.
I don't know. He was a wily veteran. I thought he would be retired by now, but he might still be in his 20s. David Johnson could be 38 or he could be 28, and I wouldn't be surprised by either.
I completely agree. Guys, we'll stay with Houston Texans, where head coach Culley spoke on Deshaun Watson's status, where he said he is our quarterback. Jordan, this was an honorable mention for who has bigger balls today. Does the coach of the Houston Texans, David Culley, have some big balls, still saying that Deshaun Watson's his quarterback?
I mean, he's like in the worst situation ever. Like, I don't know whose situation is worse. If it's truly Steve Nash or if it's Culley down there in Houston. Like, he's an older coach, right? And this is his first head coaching job.
Correct.
He thought he was getting Deshaun Watson. If you think that he was leaving Lamar Jackson in John Harbaugh up in Baltimore for Houston in an unnamed quarterback, people are out of their mind. I don't think he deserves big balls. I don't know what else you can say. He's dealing with like a 10-year-old right now. So I think he's in an impossible position. I'd hate to be him right now.
Yeah. Sam?
Just all I have to say is happy birthday to my sister Megan.
Happy birthday, Megan.
All right.
Happy birthday, Megan.
Happy birthday, Megan. Sam, I'll let you with any headlines you may have now, unless that was the only one you had. Your happy birthday.
No, Mitch, I gotta apologize. I zoned out, didn't hear your question, so I said, you know what? Here come my headlines. So happy birthday, Megan. I believe she turned 17 today. I love you, Megan. I would be remiss as a big brother if I didn't give you a birthday shout out here. Apparently, Matthew McConaughey is seriously considering running for the governor of Texas, which I think he would absolutely win. I think he would be eating me. Thank you, Kevin.
What?
Eat me comes on the screen. I couldn't help but read it.
That's
There
hilarious.
from Kevin. I think McConaughey would be an absolutely phenomenal governor. Arnold Schwarzenegger-like move. So we need to see it. McConaughey, don't consider it at all. Just do it. You'd win by a landslide. And you know what, Mitch? I have another pick if we're doing picks later, but I got to apologize for my ball of the week last week, fellas. It lost. Officially 0-1 on my balls of the week, but not anymore. We're going 1-1 tonight with the Atlanta Hawks versus Toronto Raptors over at 225. I can't believe this is at 225. What a mistake. Sell your heart, sell your brain. We're hitting this tonight, fellas. 1-1.
Sam, so would you say you're going to pound it?
Oh, I'm going to pound it.
Oh. Pound it. It's locked in.
What we have to keep your record from now on. What's your record right now on the show?
We're both 0-1. We're both 0-1.
Well, both 0-1?
Yeah, I've given more picks out that have lost, but you know what? We're restarting. Hitting the restart button. Never as a contributor have I given out a pick, besides for last week.
Hey, I think I'm fair.
What's that?
So Mitch, what else we got going on? Let's
I don't
push it
know.
up.
Whatever's going on right now out here on the set, not in the ball pit, crazy. But
Yeah.
we'll move along, Jordan.
Mhm.
We are getting towards the end of the show, and if you're still out there listening or watching us right now, and you haven't subscribed or liked or commented, stop it. Get some help and do it. Just do it. All right. Simple as that. Just do it.
Mhm.
But Jordan, a lot of conference tournaments going on in college basketball right now.
Mhm.
Selection Sundays this weekend,
Yeah.
which means Tuesday we're going to have our big March Madness preview. The only balls we're covering besides in the headlines will be the basketballs of college and March, specifically the men's bracket. Who knows? Maybe we'll even, put a little spin on things and talk about the women's bracket. Who knows? I mean, I don't even know if the Selection Sundays this week for women. But Jordan, before we get there, who do you like right now? One team right now. Who you like? Winning it all?
Oh, I mean, I don't think I can say this team because I feel like it's going to be your team. So I'm going to have to go with the team that has my heart. And if Drake gets into the tournament, they're clearly going to win it all. I'd also watch out for Creighton. Hopefully McDermott can just keep his mouth shut for the remainder of the season and not bring back vocabulary that was invented in 1905. For those of you guys who know the drama out there, I like Drake. I love him. Mitch, who you got?
Who I'm going to say obviously isn't going to win because it never is that easy, but the best team far and away in the country is Gonzaga. They're undefeated for a reason, but that team is just so lethal from deep in the paint. They're the best team in the country. Now, we all know that the last time a team went into the tournament undefeated was 2015 Kentucky, who ultimately lost Wisconsin, I believe, and Frank Kaminsky. So it's been a long time since the team's ever went undefeated and won the national championship, which means history will probably repeat itself. They'll probably get knocked out in the Sweet 16 or something. But we also know that sometimes the best team doesn't always win the national championship in basketball. Gonzaga, in my opinion, is the best team in the country. But I'm going to say, if it's not Gonzaga, it will be a Big Ten school.
That's not Cleveland State.
Oh, well, I mean, they're gonna make a run, obviously, because they're obviously gonna win the first game. Never lost in the round of 64 before in their past 2 tournament appearances. But the officials are gonna mess them up. They can't let Cleveland State win the Natty. That's just, come on. They won't let it happen.
Yes, you can. You could.
I should.
I think that I think Michigan or Illinois is going to win the national championship. So it's funny you said that. I became a huge Kofi Cockburn fan. Unfortunately, I was on the wrong side of Kofi Cockburn's tear. But that guy is unbelievable. I mean, he's like 17. He looks like Shaq on the court. And I hate to compare, but just an absolute dominant performance, absolute dominant presence on the court. I think the Big Ten's got this one wrapped up.
Ooh, wow. Those are strong words, Sam.
Wow. And so, guys, book it, he says. That sounds like another pound it lock in. We'll wait to see if we should lock that in until next week. Guys, are you more of a, when trying to assemble the perfect bracket, more logical, or because of how crazy March can be, are you more of a mascot matchup kind of guy?
You know what? Recently, I've been neither. I've been a slave to the numbers. At some point, the higher seed has to win most of the games, and my winner is going to have to win. I usually pick Duke to win every year. And even Greg Paulus got him to the tournament. Lord have mercy, and they couldn't even get to the tournament with this team. Because I mean, by all means, if Duke had more wins, they would be in the tournament. They would not have taken themselves out of play. You know what I mean? Because that's why they're not playing right now, because they took themselves out of it. Yeah, I'm gonna stay with that.
Sam,
yeah. Unfortunately, I'm also trapped by the numbers. I can't get away. I see that 1 seed versus 8 seed or whatever, and I have to go with the 1. I'm just like, my brain's like, okay, gotta be, And so I've taken a new approach. I just kind of wing it. I do a few, and I'm trying for the, I only try number one, very serious. I sit down, I look at the analytics, and I'll give it a try, but I'm just very wrong every year. I've actually started doing it game by game on paper, and that's worked a lot better for me. So if you want to try that out and roll with me that way, go ahead, try it out. You're never wrong.
Never wrong. I don't even know how I'm going to do the tournament this year. I'm thinking the year off last year because of COVID might benefit me because, I was the type of guy that likes to fill out brackets wrong on purpose, like, picking the 16 seeds to win and everything. And then, by the Sweet 16, that bracket's doing better than the one I actually have money on. So I think you just dive head first with some balls and say, this is going to happen. And you just pick it with confidence. And if it doesn't, then I usually resort to the mascot. The Buckeyes always win because if you eat the Buckeye, you're dead, right? Buckeyes are poisonous. So therefore, Ohio State's winning the national championship this year. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Your TED
That's
Talk?
right.
My TED Talk, yes. Isn't that what this is?
No. Just cover your balls.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, shout out to everybody, by the way, who has stayed with us for the duration. Make sure you're liking and subscribing. We don't tell you guys that enough, and it seems like a lot of the time, guys, we have a lot of people who watch our show who are not subscribed. So don't be that person. Subscribe.
Fucked up, honestly.
It is kind of messed up that you would do that.
Probably Kyle Heckman.
Yeah, Kyle Heckman's definitely probably one of them. Actually, I know for a fact he is. We can see that actually. Gentlemen, before we move on to probably our favorite segment of the show, is there anything else that we need to cover or talk about before we move on? Jordan, we'll start with you.
I'm excited for college basketball. I encourage everybody to watch some games. If you're not a college basketball fan, you will be, because March Madness turns everybody into a college basketball fan. So if you were unsure about if you're going to watch it, watch it. Watch it, because there's going to be fans there. Mitch, you're going to some games, right?
I can confirm I am going to the games next Friday.
Yeah, so, you're going to go get in some fun. I encourage a lot of people out there to get into the fun, fill out some brackets, and have a good time with this. Because it only comes once a year. So
That's right. And I think now more than ever, people are going to appreciate March a lot more. I was thinking, Mitch, I was like, what's missing for my life? And now that you mentioned that we've had a year off from filling brackets, that's what it was. I haven't filled in a bracket in well over a year at this point. And, once a year you fill out like 50 of them and you go crazy. And you do every which way and you have a blast. But I haven't had that in well over a year. So celebrate life, baby.
Before I move on, I'm going to pose this question to both of you. A couple of years ago, it was a 16 has never beaten a 1 seed. We saw it happen with UMBC upsetting Virginia. Nobody has ever filled out a perfect bracket. I'm not talking this year. Will it ever happen? Yes or no, Jordan?
Yeah, I think at some point, because I know some people who fill out a couple hundred brackets. So I think it's only a matter of time. The people that get their brackets almost right, that's not the only bracket they're filling out. And those people are literally putting all the teams into Excel and figuring out basically every configuration of how all brackets could go. It's going to happen at some point, but I doubt anybody just does it straight up based off of one bracket. There's just it's pretty much impossible. I don't think it's going to happen.
And do you even want it to happen though? Because we've had the 16 beat the 1. So if the perfect bracket is done, like what dragon is there to chase? Like, I personally because I don't want to be the second person to get the perfect bracket. I want to be the first person to get the perfect bracket. There's no point in being the second. So pizza tonight. Look at that, Lisa Balla.
Apparently, my mother can't text me. She just would rather hop in the comments.
I love it.
Mom, like you getting the viewership up there. But apparently now, Mo wants pizza. I think Sam wants pizza now. So, you're going to be buying a lot of pizza if that's what we're going with tonight.
That's true. Pepperoni sounds good as well. But I personally, I don't want it to happen. I think a lot of people would agree with me. Please don't get the perfect bracket. Please don't.
What if it's you?
Well, then that's fine. That's fine. I did it. Then that's fine. Somebody could be the second. I don't care. But until I do it, please don't.
Oh, I hope one of us gets it. That's all there is to it. But guys, it is time to move on to our favorite part of the show.
Who has bigger balls?
Who has bigger balls? Jordan, do you have?
Oh, I
a
do.
second?
Oh,
Okay.
I do.
So I'll make my pitch. Is it Johnny Damon, former World Series champion, former Major League Baseball player, and all-star with the Red Sox, who the video was released from the police officer's body cam of him getting pulled over, not cooperating, his wife getting out of the car, not cooperating, her just walking away during a traffic stop, which they both claim they were not drunk. If you go watch the video, just literally search Johnny Damon.
Please, for the love of God, go watch the video.
You'll get a great laugh out of it.
It's unbelievable, and they're not mean. But Johnny Damon's not mean in the video either. By the way,
no,
he's really nice. He says Blue Lives Matter in it towards the end, which necessarily probably is not what you want to say while you're getting dragged on concrete in your front lawn. By the way, you give context to the story, Mitch. Johnny Damon and his wife were pulled over in their own driveway. Okay, he's like, "That's my house. Just let me walk in my door. My house is right there. You can't do this." And then his wife, 90 seconds into this, gets out to go in the house, and he's like, "You can't get out of the car." But she's like, "I pay property taxes here. You can't tell me no." And then that was it. They were plastered. You know how drunk you have to be? How did he get home? That's kind of scary.
It is. It is very scary.
Because, it's just terrifying. If you guys listen to it, I don't know what else to tell you. Their words do not give it justice. You have to watch it.
Hysterical. It really is. Mm-hmm. So, is it Johnny Damon or Jordan?
Or is it Rob Spira? Hey, guys, back in the day, a movie came out. And I don't know if you guys know about this movie, but it got a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes back in 2000. It's a horror fantasy movie, about 91 minutes in duration. We all know that the best movies in duration go from about 90 minutes to about 100 minutes. That's the industry standard. And Rob Spira came out with Leprechauns in the Hood. And not only did he come out with one of the movies, but he came out with several movies. After the first one got a 33% on Rotten Tomatoes. So is it Johnny Damon and his wife? Or is it Rob Spira? For after his debut of Leprechauns in the Hood at 33% on Rotten Tomatoes, he continued to make more.
I think I got to go with Johnny Damon. I'm watching the video with no sound right now, and it's just looks like a classic video. It's exactly how I imagined Johnny Damon reacting if he had a gun pointed at him. You can see his man bun going, and he's like, "Whoa, just take it easy, man." I think he's got a little bit of a point. If he's in his own driveway, maybe just let him go. I don't condone drunk driving, but
a new DUI rule: if you can make it to your driveway before a cop pulls you over, what is it? Yeah, the tag zone. What is it? Like the safe zone?
Safe zone. I mean, I don't think
that's the real travesty.
We do not promote drunk driving on the show.
Do you think Johnny Damon let him? Wait a minute. Did you say there was a gate? Did Johnny Damon let the cop in? Hey, you can come. If you're gonna pull me over in here.
He's behind the gate. I think it might be the entrance to his neighborhood. I wonder if he traveled on a little bit with the lights behind him. He's like, I just have a mile left. I'll keep going. But it's got to be Johnny Damon because you got to have big balls if you're dumb enough to drunk drive. Drive sober, get pulled over. We absolutely do not condone drunk driving. What an idiot Johnny Damon is.
We definitely don't condone it, but if you expect me to keep a straight face while talking about a DUI after watching Johnny Damon's video, then you are surely mistaken. Because I think go ahead.
I'm sorry. Johnny Damon versus Bruce Springsteen. Both two famous people with DUIs in recent news.
Oh.
Bruce was acquitted, though, so he got his in New Jersey, so I don't think the King of New Jersey would have gotten a DUI.
Gotcha.
Yeah, Johnny Damon has bigger balls. Yeah, as simple as that.
Well, he does. There wasn't a great candidate, and I was watching Leprechaun in the Hood the other day, and it's just the most ridiculous movie ever because there's a leprechaun. Get some backstory here. We're really Irish family. Last name McKelley. My mom and my brother's birthday next week on St. Patrick's Day, so I thought I'd bring a little St. Patrick's Day fun in here. And we do have a St. Patrick's Day special for March Madness.
Oh, is that so?
That's the word on the streets.
Oh, well, if you said it, it must be true then. Because last time I checked, our producer is you, me, and occasionally Blake Griffin over there in the camera. But, gentlemen, Johnny Damon has the bigger balls. This has been episode 33 of Cover Your Balls. Anything else before we say goodbye to everybody in the ball pit?
No, I don't think so. I think this is it.
Yeah, let's just get some points in this Buffalo versus Miami Redhawks game.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
It's been real. Just join us Tuesday, March Madness. Bring your brackets. We'll help you create your bracket. Look at us as your March Madness advisors. We will take you through the bumpy roads and all the potholes that stand in your way of a perfect bracket.
Amen. R.I.P. to Joe Tate, Cavaliers legendary radio broadcaster. And folks, thank you for listening. And as always, signing off.
None of that fucking Baker Mayfield do this shit to you, bro.
Go Flash.